third opponent is Commissioner Andy Duyck. Hello, I'm Commissioner Andy Duyck. I've been a commissioner now for 14 years with the county, and I'm a lifelong resident of Washington County. Grew up in a farm family. Later on, started my own business. This year marks 25 years in business, and we've been very, very successful, and I'm proud to be here. Many of you know me as a Washington County Commissioner, and it's been my real pleasure to serve on the Washington County Board of Commissioners with some very rational and thoughtful people. During that time, I'm proud to say that the policies instituted by the Board of Commissioners have made it possible for us never to have to go back out to the public to ask for an increase in the general fund dollars. Yes, we've gone out, we've asked for specific things like libraries, like roads, but we've never had to go out for general fund dollars because we've managed well. Those same policies have made our county one of the most desirable in the state for business growth and for residential livability. And I'm currently running for House District 30 so that I can express some common sense over partisanship. And I'm proud to say that I've been asked to run by both the Republican and the Oregon Independent parties, recognizing that as a county commissioner, I've had to work with my fellow commissioners who cover the spectrum, including a couple who may be here today. And while sometimes I've disagreed and sometimes I've agreed, I've always looked at the merits of specific proposals over any type of partisanship. So now let's talk about the state of Oregon, since that is the office that I'm running for. Oregon has taken a drastic turn for the worse. It's not only becoming apparent with the housing market, but jobs are currently being lost in the state of Oregon at the rate of about 2,300 per month. That's pretty significant, and it's going to be on us, and we're going to start to feel the effects of that before we know it. It takes a while to turn this ship around, and you can't wait until the damage is done before you start to make changes. In addition to this, some Oregon counties are on the brink of bankruptcy. And the reason for this has to do with timber revenues. We're not heavily dependent on timber revenues, but I can tell you this is a major, major problem in the state. If we don't help to solve this problem for those counties, we're going to pick up the tab. And so it does affect us. It is our problem. In the last legislative session, the state budget increased by 20%. That was $3 billion with a B. Very significant. And yet, all of that money was spent. So when we talk about a rainy day fund, which I commend the previous legislature for creating, it was created on the backs of small business. While it was touted as taking money from large business that they had paid in already and probably wouldn't need back, the small business does rely on those funds, and it does make a difference. So, and even at that, the amount of money that was put into that rainy day fund is significantly small compared to the overall budget. It's not going to solve the problem. So I have to ask a very hard question. When you have an increase of $3 billion and you're talking about enlarging the rainy day fund to have some sort of a stabilization fund, what happened? Why didn't we put part of that $3 billion into that fund? So now we're left this biennium with a shortfall. And that has to be made up somewhere. And there are a few policies that can do that very well. Now, this is oftentimes characterized as you either have to cut services or you have to raise taxes. That's not the issue. I mean, that can be the issue, but that's not the only solution. If you grow the economy, you increase revenue, and we don't have to pay more taxes for it. That should be the first thing that we do. At the county level, I think that we've done that with our policies, and I intend to do the same thing at the state. The first thing that we can do at the state level is to cut the capital gains tax. Now, some people balk at that because as soon as they talk about that, they think, well, you're giving something to the rich. What they don't understand is that with the baby boom generation being as large as it is, the majority of the wealth in this country, let alone our state, is tied up in the hands of baby boomers in investments in 401ks, in other retirement plans. And we know that just by cutting the capital gains somewhat, we immediately stimulate investment in jobs in the economy. That should be our first choice. And some states in this nation have finally gotten it, and they've done it. And some have even cut it down to zero. I'm not proposing we cut it down to zero, but we need to figure out how much we can cut it and get the stimulation that we're after. Unfortunately, too many people think that the tax code is not about raising revenue. They think it's about social justice or redistributing the wealth. Well, that's a little bit like somebody saying, I'm going to cut off my nose to spite my face. I mean, heaven forbid that we should actually generate wealth and that some of us might actually be wealthy in the process or might use the opportunities presented to us to get wealthy. Secondly, we need good infrastructure for the economy. Our existing infrastructure must be preserved. If a major road or a bridge becomes unusable, the effects of that go far beyond that single road or that single bridge. It affects our economy in general, it affects traffic patterns and puts more stress on other roadways. Second, Washington County citizens have historically been very forward-looking when it comes to funding transportation. We've invested in commuter rail, we've created new street improvements for both capacity and safety, and we have even funded some of what should have been the state responsibility. By that I refer to some of the improvements on Highway 26. And what do we get for our generosity here at the county level? Well, I'll tell you, when it comes to redistributing the gas tax and state dollars, we get told that we don't need the money as badly as other counties because our problems aren't as bad. Well, I guess no good deed goes unpunished. Isn't that the saying? So certainly when I get down to Salem, I will make that message clear that just because we're willing to step up to the plate and do our duty does not mean we should be punished in the long run when it comes to redistributing the funds. Finally, no discussion of, excuse me, did I see 30 seconds? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. No discussion of the state office would be complete without discussing education. And I'm sorry I don't have more time to talk about that. But the bottom line is education is 50% of the budget and should have been funded first in the budget, not held up and funded last. It is not something to bargain with. So I'd like to leave you with one last thought. As a nonpartisan Washington County Commissioner, I've had to work with colleagues of varied philosophies, and I've learned to judge issues on their merit, not on partisan support. So your vote for me will continue that at the state level. Thank you very much.